Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And we're moving on to The Power of Three. Cubes. That's all I can really say to really sum up this story in a kind of bitter way. Cubes. Right. Let's get into the story as a whole. The Doctor, Amy, and Rory return to Earth after a series of, let's say, unconventional adventures. From the Doctor not realising that the hotel is full of Zygons, to a bunch of other situations in which they almost get married, to the Doctor getting them into just intense trouble. The Doctor one day manages to get them back to Earth, back to their own time, and Amy and Rory find themselves in this situation where Brian begins to get a little bit in the about the Doctor, letting them go off all the time and not letting them live ordinary life. The Doctor explains that it's not necessarily that they can't live ordinary life, but he wants them to leave on their own accord. Suddenly, the Doctor finds himself left curious when a bunch of cubes just randomly begin dropping out of the sky. He gets Brian to video them day and night. He gets Unit on them as well, just to try and find out exactly what's going on. And on top of that, this is the first story that we get to meet Kate Stewart in the modern era. As they begin to observe the cubes and everything begins to play out, nothing happens in 24 hours. Nothing at all. Day and night, week in, week out, the cubes just kind of seem to sit there. It's a very silent invasion, and we find ourselves in this situation where we actually wonder whether the cubes are dangerous at all. Eventually, however, the cubes begin to have a countdown, and then suddenly a bunch of people's hearts stop. We're then introduced to an ominous force of a bunch of mouthless-looking creatures that I just can't explain. The Doctor, Amy, and Rory end up tracking down a ship that has been sitting above planet Earth for so long. The Doctor finds himself coming up against an old enemy that seems to kind of portray a holographic state. This enemy he describes as one of the most foulest creatures in the universe, one that even the Time Lords did not agree with. The Doctor then has to fiddle about a bit and just hope and pray that he can turn everyone's hearts back on by using the equipment on the ship. He achieves this, manages to go home, celebrates by essentially being around Amy and Rory a little bit longer, and then Brian asks him to promise one thing, that Amy and Rory won't die in his care. He says everyone but them, not them, never them. This becomes painstakingly clear to Brian that it's not a promise that the Doctor can keep, but definitely a promise that he will try to keep. So, The Power of Three. What did I think of this episode overall? Kate Stewart and Rory's dad absolutely are just legends in this story. However, the cubes themselves and the enemy of this entire story, what did I think of it? It really doesn't work for me on a large scale. I feel like the cubes themselves being the kind of silent attackers, fine, I can accept. The villains, however, just look really stupid, and I really don't like the way that they're carried out. I also don't like the way that it takes so long for them to start invading the Earth, especially when you consider that they've been sitting there for so long with these cubes. I like that we get to see Rory at work, and I really like that we get to have some more backstory behind Amy's life. However, I feel like the only large, over-the-top moments in this whole story, one is Rory getting caught with his trousers down, and two is the Doctor pretty much getting so OCD that he has to do something. So what would I give it out of 10? Honestly, I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. It's not my favourite story. I really like certain parts of it, but I'm not a fan of the villain, and that's why I gave it a 6 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, stay beautiful, you beautiful people.